Trita Parsi is the founder and president of the National Iranian American Council. He says Donald Trump's decision to unilaterally leave the Iran deal could lead to an unnecessary nuclear crisis.
So the United States is not just any one player in this deal. It's obviously a multilateral deal, but the two principals in this deal are the United States and Iran. And the U.S. pulling out is a very, very negative development. And I think it's very important to understand this is a crisis of choice. This deal is working.
So what happens next? What does the other powers involved in the deal do? How is Iran looking to move forward from this?
Well, the Iranians are probably going to wait a little bit and see, can the Europeans do something to protect their company so that they will be able to continue to trade and invest in Iran? And if that happens, perhaps there is a slight chance that this deal can survive. But most people don't expect that to be able to be successful. There will be some good efforts, but it's very difficult to make that happen. And that inevitably will lead to a situation in which the Iranians will also stop implementing this deal, and they will walk away from some of the restrictions that have been put on their nuclear program. And at that point, we will be back on a path towards a military confrontation. And again, it will be a confrontation that was initiated today with a decision that Donald Trump made.
Would this embolden hardliners in Iran?
Certainly. It's not just a nuclear deal that falls apart. It's also the mindset behind the nuclear deal that falls apart. The mindset that said the West and Iran actually can come to better terms. They can compromise through dialogue and negotiations. That mindset is now also being killed. And without dialogue and compromise, the likelihood of a confrontation skyrockets.
What do you say to some of the critics of this deal? There have been many groups, politicians' sides. What do you say to them? They've been looking for this deal to be sabotaged.
Well, they will own the disaster that will ensue. They will own the war that will be started.
When you say war, clarify.
Well, it will be a major confrontation between the United States and Iran. Israel will probably be involved in one way or another, as will the Saudis. This will likely end up not being some sort of a small military confrontation, but a balance of power defining war in the region. Because that is, at the end of the day, what is driving this. This is not an actual disagreement about the merits of the nuclear deal. It's about the fact that the United States and Iran decided that they're going to try to get along instead of fighting each other. And that's not something that has sat down particularly well with the King of Saudi Arabia or the Prime Minister of Israel, who much prefer that the United States and Iran actually are in a confrontation with each other.
Is there any way to walk it back?
There is. There is a way of walking it back. And if the rest of the world, instead of trying to appease Trump and seeing what they can give him in order for him not to do this, actually puts a lot of pressure on Trump and blocks him from being able to move forward further with this. I think future American administrations will be tremendously grateful to China, to Russia, to Europe, if they do that, because future American administrations don't want to have to deal with an Iranian nuclear crisis.